Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scott's Selections here for Wednesday, January 8th. Before we get into today's play, a quick recap of what happened yesterday. We ended up picking up a loss with Texas Tech minus 3.5. Number pretty much stayed steadily at 3.5 after the video was made. Baylor ended up winning outright. Game was close throughout. Baylor went on a bit of a run in the start of the second half, which pretty much, I don't want to say blew the game open, but it definitely didn't help. Texas Tech offense, well, both teams were terrible offensively, which is what was kind of expected, but Texas Tech really struggled at the foul line, which was pretty shocking considering the fact they were shooting 76% going into the game. Anytime you have a game at home against an opponent that hasn't played a true road game all year, and you still manage to only score 18 points in the first half, I mean, that's just, I can't really describe that. I mean, Texas Tech came into the game shooting 76% from the line. They ended up shooting 41.7%. They got out-rebounded by 19. They got absolutely smacked. I'll tell you what I'm not going to do again, though, this season. I'm not going to bet against Baylor. I've tried it twice, and they've beaten me both times. This team's really good. I know they're the number 4 team in the country, and I thought they were a bit fraudulent because of the betting markets and what they priced Texas Tech at for this game. But Baylor's really good. I mean, if you just watch this team play, they normally only play zone. They're more versatile this year. They've played a decent amount of man last night, as opposed to usual. And, I mean, they were just really good. I mean, they have size, they have guards. They're a really good player. They have a bunch of really good players. Vital's really good. Their Achilles heel in the tournament will be if Vital can make enough free throws. But he's a really solid playmaker and a good defender. He's kind of like a poor man's Draymond Green a bit in college, which is very valuable because he's versatile. He can guard all 5 positions. He had 8 points, 13 rebounds, and he did shoot 4 of 8 from the foul line. Not a great free throw shooter, but Baylor, watch out for them. This team's pretty good. But looking forward to the rest of the card here. Don't really like anything on today's card, so I'm going to give that a look-ahead line, actually. And for the play of the day, I know it's the middle of Wednesday, we're going to do a look-ahead line. We're going to do something a little bit differently than normally do. Instead of giving out one game in the NFL, I actually like a moneyline parlay here, and we're going to give that out as play of the day in the NFL. And we're going to start out with the 2 Saturday games here, and we like a play on both of them. We like the 49ers money line and the Ravens money line, and the third play of the parlay will be the Chiefs money line. So if you parlay all 3 of those together, the 3-pick comes out to plus 104, and that line is available on DraftKings for the 3-pick parlay. I'm going to start out with the 49ers here. First of all, some trends that are worth mentioning on why I actually like all 3 of these plays. First things first, the number 1 and number 2 seeds in the divisional round, when they're favored by less than 10 points but more than 3 points, so a spread from minus 3.5 to minus 9.5, and that's currently where all 4 games are located, with the 3 games I mentioned before. The 1 seed and the 2 seeds combined are 32 and 13 straight up, which is equivalent to 71.1%. So they've done really well historically, based on the fact that the 1s and 2 seeds within that range that they currently are, they win the game roughly 71% of the time, so I think that they should be able to get the job done. If you've also looked at some of the trends, it is worth mentioning. I'll start out with the Vikings and 49ers game. I'll start out with that one. The Vikings, I know this stat's pretty old, but in January, historically, they are awful on the road since 1988. It's a long time, but it's still worth mentioning. They're 2-11 straight up and against the spread outdoors. So that is worth mentioning because of the fact that both wins they had came against Green Bay in Green Bay, which means that teams outside of their division in the divisional round, outdoors in January, they are 0-11. So that is something that is worth keeping track of. Vikings, even though they did win an impressive game against New Orleans, which I do give them credit for, the issue I have is that they played the late game on Sunday and now have to play the early game on Saturday versus a team that had a week off. I just think this rest spot is absolutely awful for Minnesota. I mean, you get 5 days off and you have to travel. And, I mean, to the West Coast to face a 49ers team that has the ability to pressure the quarterback, and Cousins is pretty immobile. But the issue that I have here is just Minnesota. Such an emotional win, good for them and everything. Play the late game on Sunday, the early game on Sunday, sorry. They finished that game at like 4 o'clock, and now you have to play on a short week against a team that has had a week off. I think that's a bit concerning for me. I think the 49ers are just the better overall team. If you've looked at their home record this season, They've been really good at home, as they are 6-2 overall. Minnesota's 4-4 on the road. They're technically 5-4 because they did beat the Saints. But overall, I just think the 49ers are a better overall team. You can have questions about Garoppolo, which is fair. I still am not sold on Cousins. I know he had a great game against New Orleans, but I mean, San Francisco's defense is getting healthier. The defensive line that San Francisco is just significantly more talented than Minnesota's. I think Cousins will struggle. I think Cook, who played really well against New Orleans, I think San Francisco will keen in on the run a little bit. Overall, I just think San Francisco is the better overall team. They've been great at home, and traveling to the West Coast on a short week is definitely not something that I think very highly of for Minnesota in that spot. So for me, I think San Francisco will win the game. We'll lean to the 49ers on that one. Now, talking about the late game on Saturday, you have Baltimore and Tennessee. Baltimore is currently the biggest favorite on the market right now, roughly at 9.5 or 10. And I think it is worth mentioning that Baltimore, they're 7-1 at home. They've been really good. A couple of question marks about Ingram and whether or not he will be able to play in this one. I know he left practice early just in case. I think he'll probably be able to go, but I still think Gus Edwards is a decent backup. Baltimore, they've just been so good. I mean, there's no way to really describe it. I know Tennessee has a shot at potentially winning this game if they are able to get Henry going for another 100 and change yards. But Ryan Tannehill in that game against New England, I know he made a couple of throws down the stretch. I mean, he was terrible. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat that. I know that Tannehill got the job done, but I still feel like if Baltimore can limit Henry to about 90-something yards or even 100-something yards, I have no faith in Tannehill whatsoever to win this game on the road. Tannehill against New England was 8 for 15 for 72 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. I am not sold on him in this type of environment. I know Lamar hasn't won a playoff game in his career either, but they've just been so good on both sides of the ball. Baltimore has been the best team in the league. There's a reason why they're the favorites going into the playoffs to win the Super Bowl, and why they're still the favorites to win now. I mean, if you look at their actual numbers, they started the year 2-2. They're 14-2. They've won 12 straight. I don't really think any team has come close to them. You can talk about Buffalo or San Francisco, but I mean, San Francisco is just a phenomenal team also, and they're favored to come out of the NFC. I just think Baltimore is a significantly better team. I think Lamar Jackson is too much to handle, especially for Tennessee to only get 1 week of preparation. Unlike the Vikings, though, they did play on Saturday, so they do have a little bit of, not a big deal. They have a little bit of rest advantage in comparison to Minnesota because they played on Saturday instead of Sunday. But at the end of the day, I just think Baltimore is just a different animal. I think people look at this team and they say this team is probably the most dialed-in team, I'd say in a long time. I mean, if you just look at how they've completely just run through the AFC and even the NFC just in the last 12 weeks, and now they have a week off to get people more healthy, I have to assume that Harbaugh will come up with a good game plan here for Tennessee, and I think Baltimore at home should be able to get the job done. So lean to Baltimore on that one. And the last play in the parlay is the Chiefs. I mean, I talked about it before in last week when I talked about Bill O'Brien's just not a good head coach. I still agree with that. I mean, you fall 16-0 behind Josh Allen, and now you play Kansas City in Kansas City, and Kansas City has a revenge angle also, because of the fact that Kansas City did lose to Houston at home earlier this year. Main reason for that was because Mahomes was not at 100%, but now he is. And Kansas City, I talked about how Baltimore's been on a roll. Kansas City's also been really good lately. They struggled a little bit during the season. Once Mahomes got injured, they lost to Tennessee in his first game back, and that really thrilling game there. But Kansas City's won each of their last 6 games. They enter off a bye, so you have the Andy Reid bye angle, which is also worth mentioning because Andy Reid has known historically around all betting trends that he is absolutely unbelievable off of the bye. I'm actually going to pull up that stat right now. But Andy Reid is known for being one of the best coaches in the entire, honestly, probably ever, off of the bye. Andy Reid in the playoffs is 4-0 straight up off a bye. So that is something worth mentioning. 22-3 in his career when coming off the bye. So 4-0 in the playoffs, 22-3 overall off the bye. I think that's pretty good. So for me, I think Kansas City will come out with a good game plan. I think Bill O'Brien got bailed out on Deshaun Watson's greatness, and I simply think that The Texans, I know that they beat the Bills at home. Congratulations. It was a good win for them. Probably saved Bill O'Brien his job, which is kind of unfortunate in the long run for Texans fans. But I just think Kansas City and Baltimore are just in a different class in the AFC. And I think that San Francisco would normally be in a tricky spot, potentially for an upset loss here. But I think the fact that Minnesota got screwed over on the actual just the rest disadvantage there, I think is going to be an issue. So the play of the day, once again, will be a 3-pick parlay on the NFL Divisional Round, and it is going to be on the Ravens money line, the Chiefs money line, and the 49ers money line, and all three of those combined equal a plus 104, on the parlay, and that line is available on DraftKings, once again, at plus 104. Other than that, though, don't really get anything on today's card. Not really going to spend much more time on it because it's a 10-minute video. Other than that, I'll resume the normal daily play of the day stuff for tomorrow, but I didn't like anything on the card. Apologies once again. But play of the day, once again, on the Ravens, Chiefs, and 49ers moneyline parlay, which is available at plus 104 on DraftKings. That's going to be the installment of Scott Selections here for Wednesday, January 8th. Good luck to all of you and your respective bets today. Bye, everyone.